Hi. So in the last video, we have defined the logic for cancel selling card and sell NFT card. And in this video, we are actually going to implement selling and delisting the NFT on the marketplace. So let's start with actually selling, and it's the one with slightly more complex one. And for this, we need to get both marketplace and NFT contracts. So let's start with getting them from get marketplace contracts and NFT contract from get NFT contract. And the reason we are getting the NFT contract is actually related to the logic of selling. So our marketplace is another entity from our NFT collection. Since we are trying to sell our NFTs on the marketplace, when a user buy from the marketplace needs to transfer on our behalf the NFT. So we need to actually give approval to marketplace so that it can actually have the authority to transfer the NFT once it gets the requested funds. That's why we actually implemented this NFT contract as well. Start with this handleListing. So in the UI part, we have a price that we are getting from the ID page in the last video. We have the handle price change that's setting the price state in the ID page as well. The user is going to give us a number that he wants to sell for, and we are going to sell this NFT in the handle listing. In order to do that, let's start with granting the role from the NFT contract. For this, we actually need to get a useGrantRole hook from ThirdWeb. But this time we are actually implementing a function. So we will have mutate, error, and is loading instead of data and is loading. We are not querying anything. We are actually getting a function. So let's say useGrantRole, and it's going to be automatically imported from ThirdWeb. This useGrantRole needs a contract, and the contract in this case is NFT contract, because we are going to be interacting with the NFT contract, saying that this is the marketplace address, and this marketplace address has the ability to sell on my behalf. And we have a typo in the error. So let's call this mutate grant role, and let's call this error role error. And after this grant role, we can actually do the direct listing. And for that, we are going to also take another hook from ThirdWeb. And this is called useCreateDirectListing. And it's going to get marketplace this time. So let's call this mutate createDirectListing so that we will know what we are actually doing. And also in here, we have a is loading, just like data fetching, because this createDirectListing is a async function, and we need to know if it's going on, if it's still in progress or not. Is loading is listing loading. And for the error, let's say list error, so that we will know what we are actually doing. And with this, let's actually call them from this handle listing. And I will use a try catch block again, so that we will catch the errors and application will not stop running. So I will call, in case we have an error listing with the error itself. And let's start with granting the role. And for that, I will just call this grant role that we get from ThirdWeb. So this grant role is going to be needing two parameters. First one is role, and the second one is who is getting the role. We are saying to the NFT contract, we are giving role admin to the marketplace address so that it can sell NFTs on our behalf, as we have said. And for this, we have actually implemented a function in util. Maybe you remember from the first video. So we are using get contracts in basically all the videos. But inside, we also have a get contract address that's getting the environment variable or the empty string in case it's undefined. With this, we will have a role of admin in the marketplace, not admin, but admin. And then let's actually create the listing. And for this, I have implemented create listing from price ID function. It's going to take price and ID. And if you're wondering why I'm doing this, is because create listing has many parameters that we need to fill out, but I don't want a user to be able to change asset contract address or starting timestamp or the listing duration. So it's going to be standard for all of the listing, but the only thing that's going to be different is the token ID, obviously, to know which NFT actually we are selling. And the price is completely based on user input. So we are getting only those two and filling out the generic inputs. And with this, we have a listing of type listing. So type listing is what we defined in the types, and it's the same type that Third Web used to store the listings. So we will not get a type error. And once we get this listing, let's actually call this createDirectListing and give the listing that we have created. And now we are getting a type error because we haven't defined which type of marketplace we are giving it. So for that, we are going to, just for handling the types, we are going to give required param of marketplace. And these are going to be both implemented from Third Web types. And with this, as you can see, we don't have error anymore. This handle listing actually handles the listing. But just like all the other contract interactions, underneath the button, we should have something that defines if we are in the process or if we have an error. So two errors we have is role error and this list error. Just like before, since it's unknown, let's use as unknown as Boolean. And the second type is list error. And that's also as unknown as Boolean. So in case we have any of these, let's print out a text saying that we have an error. But in case not, let's render another div. So inside this div, let's call class name with text center as always and margin top. And let's say error listing. Actually, if we don't have any error, we don't need to define another div because we can just use listing loading like this. And while the listing loading is defined and true, let's print out listing in process with 3 dots. And just to make it a bit better, let's center and margin top. So with this being said, we are getting the price input from the user. We are handling the price change and setting the event target.value as a number to the state of id.tsx. And once the user clicks list, we are handling the listing starting with granting role to the marketplace so that marketplace can sell in our behalf. We don't need to approve anything else. And we are just creating the listing with the price that we have get from the user. So this takes us to our second requirement, which is cancel the listing. And it's going to be really similar, apart from the fact that we don't need to have a grant role in this case, since we are the one who is doing the direct interaction. So let's get the marketplace contract. And with this contract, let's use cancel direct listing with marketplace inside. So it's going to return us, just like before, 3 values: mutate, is loading, and error. And we can just name them whatever we want. So for this, I will say cancel direct listing. And is loading and error can actually stay because we don't have any other logic inside this component. So in the handle the list, it's just a button. In the first title, it's showing that this NFT is listed for this much with the symbol so that the user will know how much he or she is selling it, and with a button for handling the delisting. So let's wrap this in a try catch. And in case of an error, let's say error delisting with error itself. And inside this, let's just call cancel direct listing. So it wants the listing ID, and we are getting it from the props from the id.tsx. Here, as you remember, if the NFT has a listing ID, we are rendering this cancel selling card, and we are giving this listing ID as props. So we have no problems getting it. And just like before, we need an actual logic for is loading an error. And for that, we can just copy and paste this part because we are going to pretty much render the same card. But in here, we don't have a role error. We just have the error. And this one we don't have as well, since we are only calling one function. And this is called isLoading in this case. So this is basically done with the canceling the direct listing or listing the NFT itself. And actually with this video, we are done with the logic of our applications, and our marketplace application is basically ready. So this was it for this video.